Yes, absolutely. The Muslim vote could come to have a play in the outcome of the presidential race. Michigan could be a key state here in this election. It could decide things. So it's very easy to see why President Trump is doing what he's doing in Michigan.
What does this endorsement mean of President Trump from the Muslim mayor of Hamtramck?
Well, it goes back, I think, to the fight between Republicans and Democrats in this country for the Muslim vote, which has gone both ways over the years. Going back to the 2000 election, Muslims were firmly aligned in this country with the Republican Party. But after what they call forever wars and foreign policy and counterterrorism policies that Muslims were not happy with, they slowly evolved towards the left, towards the Democratic Party. That's begun to change in recent months because of the Israel-Hamas war. Some Muslims view presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris as somebody who is too pro-Israel and who does not stand up for the rights of Palestinians. That is the belief they have. Now, what's strange about all of this is that Trump is no better on these topics for Muslims. But in any case, I think it comes back to other ways in which Republicans, conservatives, and Muslims align, and that goes back to family values. In the last few years, we've seen a push among Muslims to reject some of the progressive woke politics of the left and move to the right. And I think once you threw in the Israel-Hamas war, you have people like Amir Ghalib, the mayor of Hamtramck, who, by the way, is probably one of the most outspoken and dangerous Islamists in the country, throwing his weight behind President Donald Trump.
You call him an Islamist. Can you tell us why you think he's so radical?
Sure. We published an article that noted many of his Islamist leanings. For instance, he says that he came up being topped by Salafists, which is one of the more hardcore fundamentalist brands of Islam. He said that Salafists were responsible for him being elected, that they came out in large numbers to vote for him in Hamtramck's mayoral race. He holds views, for instance, he's praised Saddam Hussein as a martyr. He has complicated views on the conflict in Yemen. He is against the Abraham Accords. He very much is anti-Israel, along with other city council members. His ideology is very much what you would refer to as Islamist. And he's taken that ideology and slowly transformed Hamtramck, which is a Muslim-majority small enclave surrounded by Detroit. He's turned this small city into really an Islamist enclave, a testing ground for Islamic laws applied to America's democratic system.
Do you think Republicans should be embracing these kind of voters?
Not at all. There's no problem, I think, Republicans reaching out to Muslim Americans, but when they pick the most extreme version of them, it does nothing but legitimize these views and normalize these views. Donald Trump was very outspoken during the 2016 race about radical Islamic terrorism. He said the word many, many times. He talked about policies that he would craft. We have the travel ban that he implemented. He tweeted about it daily. And the topic has all but disappeared, not only from Trump, but from the Conservative Party platform. You just don't see people talking about the issue anymore. And that's because if it bleeds, it leads. We haven't had a major terrorist attack here in the United States in many years. Of course, there have been Muslims involved in what should be called terrorism in the United States. But nevertheless, the media has successfully turned these into issues of mental health. And so the focus just isn't on this issue like it used to. Also, you had the rise of ISIS. We were in the middle of that war. Omar Mateen and the Pulse nightclub was a big event at the time of the 2016 election. So these issues have disappeared from the radar. However, October 7th and the aftermath here in the United States shows that these issues are still at the fore. Not only that they are very much a part of our domestic politics, as you can see from U.S. protests, universities across the country, and the political positions of many on the progressive far left that align with, if not embrace, some of the views of Hamas.
Do you think that the reason that some of these more radical Muslim voices are endorsing Trump over Kamala is that they think Kamala is essentially a traitor to their cause? Because the Democrats are actually more critical of Israel objectively. Trump is saying some very, very pro-Israel comments recently. Israel will be destroyed if he's not elected and so on. So is it the fact that they thought, the Democrats were on their side and they haven't quite gone far enough? Or why is it that they're not endorsing Kamala?
I think there's definitely some of that involved here. After October 7th, you had many Islamist groups, Islamist nonprofits, reach out to elected officials like American Muslims for Palestine. They held a lobby day just a couple weeks after the October 7th attacks. And they were surprised, caught off guard that some of their champions on the issue of Israel-Palestine were not willing to accept what Hamas did on October 7th. It really caught them off guard. And so they do look at it as disloyalty. Some of them will say, look, we were there in 2020 for the George Floyd protests. We've stood up for some of these identity debates here in the United States, and now you've turned your back on us when it comes to Israel-Hamas, which is a major point, important point for Muslim Americans across the political spectrum here in the United States.
And do you think that the Muslim vote could swing the election in favor of Donald Trump? In Michigan, it's a swing state, very, very small numbers could swing the election either way, and there's quite a few Muslims in that state. So could it actually swing the election?
Yeah, we analyzed the 2022 midterms and the 2020 elections to look at the get out the vote efforts by Islamist groups across the United States. At the time, they fully embraced Biden and supported him. And there is an argument to be said that, for instance, they flipped the Senate blue during the 2022 elections by getting enough Muslim voters to go out and vote for senators in key battleground states. And that's exactly what they did. Michigan could be a key state here in this election. It could decide things. So it's very easy to see why President Trump is doing what he's doing in Michigan. It's just not the right strategy. There are other Muslims he could have reached out to, I believe, that would have got different results for him.
So just to be clear, do you think that the Muslim vote could swing the election for Trump this time around?
Yes, absolutely. The Muslim vote could come to have a play in the outcome of the presidential race, yes.
You mentioned about the woke issues earlier and the kind of alliance between Republicans and conservative Muslim voices. How do you see that playing out in the future? Do you think that there'll be more kind of social conservatives from the Islamist or Muslim world allying with the Republicans on, for example, banning LGBT education in schools or banning LGBT flags and so on?
Yeah, I think they got a lot of attention for it in the past. There were a lot of efforts that didn't make the news when they did this in 2022. There was, in Minnesota, a huge outreach effort by the Minnesota GOP with Somali American voters. They weren't successful, but I believe it's just the beginning of the political infrastructure that they're putting in place to reach out to the Muslim community. Republicans have traditionally been very bad at breaking up different minority communities and reaching out to them with specific targeted messaging. And they're starting to learn that if Democrats play this game, we also have to play this game.
All right, Ben, Baird, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Could you do me a favor? Sorry, I'm looking down here at my computer. Can you do me a favor and send me, like we were talking about the mayor earlier, you mentioned some very specific allegations against him in terms of him being an Islamist. Can you just send me any links to anything I should, and just backing up evidence of that? Because the lawyers are going to review this so that we don't get sued and so on. Is that okay? Have you got that sort of Middle East Forum blog or whatever it is?
I do. So I'll send you the article where the screenshots are and everything, but I'm also going to send you, since most of his posts were written in Yemeni Arabic, we paid for a certifiable group to go out there and look at them and say exactly what he was saying and certify it. So I'll send you that certificate along with their exact translations and the article that speaks to those.